When I was a boy growing up, my family only had one TV and we only had 4 channels to choose from. So if there was something on that I didn't like, that was it. I had no other choice. But now when I sit down, I can watch those 4 channels: SBS, 9 Now, 7 Plus, 10 Play, iView, Netflix, Stan, Kayo Sport, Apple TV, and YouTube, just to name a few. Not only all those choices, but I can watch on my TV, my laptop, my iPad, and even my phone. With all these screen choices, if I get even slightly bored, all I have to do is click and change the channel. I hope my boss isn't watching this, but when our team meetings go beyond the 45-minute hour mark and start to drag on, that perhaps it's alleged, and nothing's been proven in a court of law yet, that I go onto my other screen and read the news or check out Facebook or see what the latest thing at JB Hi-Fi catalog is. Now I'm 50 something and I do that. So can you imagine how much more the younger generation who has been screen conditioned for such a long time to just change that screen whenever they get bored? You've probably guessed where I'm going with this, but if we're not strategic, virtual classroom is just another screen option for students that they may or may not watch. The first thing we need to do is come to terms with the ownership of the virtual classroom environment. As the teacher, I'm responsible for 50% of the input. I will design a lesson, I will deliver a lesson to the best of my ability and make it as engaging as possible. The other 50% is up to the student. It's their learning journey and they need to take ownership of their 50%. Neuroscience research, and in particular functional MRIs while the brain's learning, is really interesting. So let's put Oliver the intern into an MRI and see what's happening. Neuroscience shows that when the brain is focused on something, the neurons are firing and wiring. The brain has to be attentive and engaged in something for this to happen. It kind of shows that there's no such thing as passive learning, only active learning. Unless the brain is attending, then nothing's happening. The network of neurons that connect when I'm learning something new become the same neurons for memory for that information. So if I'm not giving 100% attention to what I'm learning, my memory of that information is going to be impaired. So if I'm in a team meeting and I'm reading Facebook posts while my manager is explaining a new process around teachers and their IDPs, guess what? At the end of the meeting, I'll know that Corey Holden's got a new horse for sale, but I'm not going to remember the process involved to help you. If you pay close attention to TV or YouTube, you'll notice that the screenshots change every 3 to 4 seconds and they come in from different angles and different times. There's music in the background, there's sounds. It's all trying to grab your attention and hold you in there. Now we can't compete with that. So what do? Ultimately, what a student decides to do in the classroom is up to them. We have no control over whether they're distracted or not. What we can do is communicate to students the importance of that attending and paying attention factor. They don't realize how much their contribution actually makes to the equation. Without wanting to sound like a broken record, we need to reinforce this at multiple times in the course journey. It's not something that they're going to hear once and grasp. They need to hear it repetitively about how much their contribution and their attention will pay off for them in the long run. A great way to communicate this to students is by giving them the 100% of the learning environment equation. That for your 50%, you are going to put in your best efforts to give them a lesson that is engaging and interesting. But the other 50% is theirs, and they need to take ownership of that and commit to paying attention and attending to what's happening. All this goes hand in hand with designing lessons that have as much active learning in them as possible. We want to get students to activate and to use their brain in the lesson so that they retain the information that's going to help them in their course. Okay, that's it from me. I hope this tip has been helpful, and we'll see you next time on Virtually the Teacher.